There are more than a few games we consider to be defining moments in history. Whether they be the first of their kind, or a simple, unabridged, perfect example of the genre they were a part of, we hold them to a different standard than other video games. And even if it is unintentional, we end up glorifying just how well these games have held up. Two examples that relate to me personally would be the very first Super Mario Bros. On the NES, and Halo Combat Evolved, which launched with the original Xbox. Now, neither of these games are bad. Believe me, I really like Super Mario and Halo. Halo is literally my favorite game series. But I'm sorry, they are just not as good as later games in their series. And that's fine, but I hate it when people act like these specific games are the pinnacle of human achievement.
Super Mario Bros. DX is actually the very first video game I ever played. Yeah, thinking back, I can't believe just how lucky I was that it ended up being this game and not something like Halo Combat Evolved.
No game is perfect, and Combat Evolved certainly has its flaws, but as far as I'm concerned, this is as perfect as it gets.
But the praise for these two games are absolutely nothing when compared to one titan in the FPS genre. A series whose fame momentarily outshined even Microsoft Windows.
You might wonder what I'm doing here.
A video game franchise which managed to resurrect itself in 2016, giving birth to one of the top-rated shooters of all time. A technical marvel which somehow managed to have 2 movies based on it. And miraculously, both of them were absolute garbage.
No.
Now.
Go to hell.
Holy shit!
Seriously, what am I looking at? What do you mean this movie came out in 2020? Yeah, I'm gonna stop now. You guys know what game I'm talking about. It's Doom. More specifically, we're playing the original Doom game that came out in December of 1993. Well, kind of. So, we are still playing that original version, but we're playing a more modernized port of it available on Xbox Game Pass. It's essentially one of those source ports on PC, only officially endorsed by Bethesda. Now, I'm sure I'll get some pushback on this choice because the ports, while faithful to the original, do add on a few extra features, the most notable being the addition of a crosshair on the screen at all times. And sure, I'll admit, I'm not a complete dumbass when it comes to technology, just a regular one. So yeah, I could have loaded up DOSBox and emulated the original version of the game. But this is simply more efficient for me, and honestly, I don't find the changes to be all that intrusive. With all that being said, let's rip and tear. Oh wait, that saying didn't really catch on until the 2016 reboot? Okay, I guess I'll save that transition for the video. Doom does not give a flying F-word about its storytelling. Okay, that's not entirely true. The manual included with the original release of the game fills in the background information for us. Because, hoo boy, let me tell you, the actual game doesn't let you know anything about the storyline. Everything you need to know in order to progress is that we are soldiers on Mars, demons have broken through and are killing everyone. Go blast them. Nothing more, nothing less. But for the interested, the manual reveals that the character we're playing as, nicknamed Doom Guy by the community, was only on Mars because 3 years prior, he disobeyed a superior officer when he commanded him to murder unarmed civilians. And from the way it's worded, it seems like we messed this guy up. Holy shit! Bet you that officer looked like that one fish from SpongeBob afterwards.
No.
What's up, guys? It's Quandale Dingle here.
Ow.
Aside from that, the typical Doom affairs occur. The Union Aerospace Corporation, or UAC, a massive conglomerate, was looking into teleportation technology on Mars. And despite testing revealing the method to be highly unstable, the UAC continued with it anyway, unintentionally opening the gates of hell to the mortal world. Pretty simplistic as game stories go, especially in modern day. But when you think of it from the mindset of a gamer in 1993, it's more than serviceable. I mean, aside from an RPG here or there, stories in video games were sorta, well, kinda exactly like how John Carmack said. You think if we showed John Carmack any Telltale game, he'd have a stroke? While we're on that topic, John Carmack has actually come out somewhat recently to backpedal on that comment. Did he need to do that? Not really. Video games as an industry has changed quite drastically since the 1990s, and I'd hope anyone in the current year would understand that. Looking back at it, I'm not really positive about the time I first heard about the Doom series. I was born in 2002, and to say that the original games were a bit before my time would be a slight understatement. I mean, I really didn't know what a floppy disk was until I saw Pro Jared talk about some edutainment game he played as a child.
One of these bad boys.
So, yeah. If you showed me a floppy dangle, I'd probably call the cops.
Right!
Though, I do think the internet was my first exposure to the Doom series. Exactly how, I unfortunately don't remember, but I do remember that the very first time I ever played the original Doom games were on the version on the Xbox 360's digital store. The demo, anyway. Listen, when you're in a poor family and only get video games on your birthday and Christmas, you learn to appreciate demos. But I absolutely loved what I played. The demon designs, the way the weapons felt, was all so lovably retro. I really wanted to actually buy the games and play them fully, but that never happened. Yeah, one day after saving up my money, my uncle took me up to the GameStop, and I came up with two games, Doom 3 BFG Edition and Battlefield 3. Take a guess which one I ended up buying. Yeah, I didn't know this at the time, but Doom 3 has a reputation for being the worst game of the series, and I'll get into my own thoughts on that matter another time. All you need to know is that the GameStop guy told me I shouldn't get it. I didn't, and now I regret it. And that unfortunate event has led us to the modern day. I bought Doom 2016 on the Xbox One, thought it was okay. Then I played Doom Eternal and absolutely fucking loved it, and now we're taking a look back at the series beginning. Let's be real here, folks. We all know why we play Doom. Is it to appreciate the technological advancements id Software made with their highly advanced, for the time anyway, engine? Well, yes, actually. In fact, I found myself really impressed with the way this game made use of lighting. In some odd way, I think I actually enjoyed the way it was handled here, as opposed to Doom 3. Although, you can't deny it, Doom 3, even to this day, has a great lighting engine. Too bad that's like the only part of the game I actually liked, but I digress. Certainly don't have that issue here. Anyway, we're all here to do one thing. Kill demons! The basic gameplay loop in Doom is very simple. You run around maze-like levels, searching for blue, red, and yellow keycards to open up doors and proceed to the level's exit. All the while filling anything that moves with holes. When playing the game again for this video, it actually surprised me how few demons you actually encounter in this game. For starters, you have your typical weak early level cannon fodder, zombie soldiers. These guys trot around the levels wielding rifles, which for some reason use the same sound effect as our pistol. But the sprite definitely doesn't show one. Not that it matters, of course, I just found it pretty funny. Then, the slightly beefier version of this guy is a zombie soldier with a shotgun. And since it's a shotgun, you know what happens when you get too close to them. What? Although these dudes are by far the weakest enemies in the game. They honestly don't put up much of a fight and can be easily taken out with a single shotgun blast or a couple bursts from your pistol. Next up are the imps. These tall, lanky-looking demons are, by my estimations anyway, one of the two most commonly encountered enemies. In terms of health, they aren't too much higher than that of a zombie marine. Anything above a shotgun blast will put them in the ground easily enough. but these guys love to throw around these flaming projectiles, which, if they actually manage to land a hit, are pretty damaging. You can still get away with acting carelessly around them, but if you slip up, it might end up costing you. Speaking of which, the second most encountered enemy in Doom 1 is hands down the Pinky. Somewhere during the second episode of the game, The Shores of Hell, they start spamming these things. Unlike the other foes so far though, the Pinkies can tank a sizable amount of damage and can output even more. Thankfully, their attack pattern is limited to charging the player, so as long as you're paying attention, you'll be fine. My go-to method of taking them out are the chain gun, which actually causes them to stagger between frames. Or the chainsaw. I mean, you might as well use the damn thing on the Pinkies. They run right up to you. They're pretty much asking for it. Oh, there's also an invisible variant of the Pinky called a Spectre. I mean, they're quite literally just the Pinky again, only that they're using the elite camouflage from Halo 2. If you're playing the more modern releases, hover your reticle over them, and once it lights up red, you're good to go. In essence, chain gun go burn. Fuck these motherfucking things! Oh, words cannot properly describe how much I dislike the Lost Souls. What you see is what you get with these guys. They're just flying, flaming skulls who rush towards you, and, I don't know, they bite you. These things just aren't fun, plain and simple. With every other monster in the game, you get a pretty satisfying death animation. Lost Souls? I understand that that was a very tired and boring joke, however, it's fitting given these lame enemies. In a 3D setting, they can actually work pretty well because you have full vertical control. However, in the classic Doom games where you can't look up or down, they just become tiring. Doesn't help that the game sometimes spams you with these things. Yeah, I don't like them. Fight me. On a more positive note, the next demon we have on our list here is the Cacodemon. Now this is how you do a flying enemy right. Instead of blindly charging the player in packs of 2 or 3, the Cacodemon is a slow, tanky enemy who fires hard-hitting projectiles at the player. I recommend using the plasma gun. It absolutely shreds these dudes to pieces. Aside from the gameplay, can we just take a moment to appreciate these guys? Their design is so iconic that I'm willing to bet it's the first thing that come to most of our minds when Doom is mentioned. And no, I don't care that it is essentially stolen from D&D. It still looks great. These tall, towering monstrosities right here are called the Barons of Hell. And to call them the most threatening minions of hell in all of Doom 1 is a massive understatement. I mean, these dudes are so threatening to an unprepared player that 2 of them serve as bosses for the knee-deep in the dead chapter of the game. In listing the roster of demons in the very first Doom game, we've discovered that the variety in the monster's attacks aren't all too significant. They're either projectile-based or melee-based. And the ones who tend to prioritize flaming balls of destruction tend to be the most threatening amongst his contemporaries. This is proven even further with the Baron making use of balls.
That shit stank, don't it?
Don't let these things hit you, because I did. And, yeah, I had to repeat this level way more times than I'm comfortable with admitting. Oh, are you waiting for me to go over the next demons? Because we're done. That's it. There are no more! Okay, that's not actually true because there are 2 unique boss enemies in the games for episode 2 and 3, but in terms of common fodder, that's it. There's only 7 of them. Now listen, in a vacuum here, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this. In fact, the lineup of demons is pretty solid and the gameplay is well balanced. At least in the terms of combat, but I'll reserve my nitpicks for the level design for another time. There were a few moments where it was a bit too difficult or too easy, but with enough perseverance, you'll be able to overcome most challenges that await you. Unless you die. If you're like me and don't quickly save all that often, you'll be forced to start all over again at the beginning of the stage with only a handgun! The prospect of going through some of these encounters with only the starting weapons scares me so much that I went into the options and cheated to get all my weapons back. Is this cowardly? Yes, but I never claimed that I wasn't a bitch. But learning that some of Doom's notable creatures actually stemmed from the sequel was really surprising to my uncultured self. And if you thought I enjoyed the lineup of baddies in Doom, you haven't seen anything yet. I am in love with the weapons of this game. Chances are if you've played the game, you are too. There is something so appealing about the pixelated images which makes up our arsenal. This goes for all the guns, by the way. They are all very nice looking and fit the atmosphere the game drops you into. Okay, but the plasma gun kinda just looks like a box, and the RPG kinda looks like a cock. There's nothing more satisfying than pumping a slug into a demon's face with a shotgun. Not quite as good as another close-range weapon, but that's a topic we won't get into until we reach Doom 2. Both the chain gun and plasma rifle are excellent for crowd control and or cleaning a room in general. Especially the plasma gun, man. That thing, pardon my French, kicks so much ass it's not even funny. Like, there have been times I felt like I was doing more damage with the plasma gun as opposed to the RPG or even the big fucking gun itself. Speaking of the RPG, I didn't really use it during my playthrough, with the exception of boss battles. The reason being, I'm a dumbass. The only weapon in our arsenal I happen to feel mixed about is the chainsaw. Now, let's get the obvious out of the way. Using a chainsaw to mulch through a demon's organs is metal as all hell. Put that sentence on a shirt and I'd wear it to middle school. But the uses for it are rather situational. Most demons make use of ranged attacks, be them bullets or the aforementioned balls. By the time you've closed the gap to cut the opponent in half, you'll undoubtedly take more damage than if you just pulled the trigger. There are two exceptions though, the Pinky Demon and the fucking Skulls. Aside from fighting these two specific monsters, I would rather just shoot them. That's enough about the action. How about we talk about the setting for this game? That being, of course, the UAC's Mars base and Hell. Yep, you go to Hell. I know we've all been desensitized to the nonsensical badassery of the Doomslayer and, by proxy, the Doom Men. But I still love the fact that after fighting his way through the Deimos moon base, the Doom guy realizes that the only way out is through Hell itself, and he just dives in. You know, just to prove that he can. The aesthetics of the Mars research base are fantastic. The deep shadows, cold metallic walls smeared with blood, the bodies of fellow staff members occasionally strewn about the floor. The lights have gone out in certain areas where you'd be lucky to see so much as a flicker. And even whilst wandering these darkened corridors, you can still hear the disturbing cries of monstrosities all around you. Good thing this is an FPS game. The atmosphere that encompasses these maps is fantastic. I mean, obviously, it's a computer game from the early 90s, so there isn't anything that's gonna make you jump out of your seat in terror. But let me tell you, there is some creepy-ass imagery here. Like this wall of moving human faces. Yeah, this is scarier than anything I encountered in Doom 3. I really can't tell you why I feel this, but just look at it! Oh, and all these compliments go triple for Hell. This moment right here in the game's third episode made me sit and gawk for a couple moments. And nearly got me motion sick. I'm not sure if it's just me here, but something about the background scrolling really bothers me. Thankfully, most of the levels in Hell take place in dilapidated structures or deep cavern systems. Oh, and remember a few seconds back when I mentioned that the Mars levels make use of cold, metallic wall textures? Yeah, you do. Good. Down in Hell, they use literal moving columns of human flesh. You know, speaking of a stretch, it's a shame that I really enjoyed the level design a lot less. Now look, I'll be straight with you guys. What I'm about to say may be controversial, and is no doubt an opinion I've only developed since I have the gaming skills of a B-tier DSP.
Why am I toxic?
But after the first episode of the game, I really didn't enjoy myself. Discovering secrets and finding the correct path through these mazes was mostly unsatisfying. Not all the time, of course. Accidentally discovering a secret while sprinting around the map is actually a very welcome surprise, when it's not a trap that squishes me to death. Although I do have to add that I cannot determine a logical sense of progression for these secrets. Some of them I just don't know. Like, unless you read about these things online, I don't understand how the devs expected us to figure these out. It kinda reminds me about id's previous FPS game, Wolfenstein, where you'd have to grind up on each wall hoping to God that one of them was actually a secret door. Despite my constant bitching about this aspect of the game, I can't really list this as a fault. Sure, I don't enjoy it in the slightest, I hate maze design, but many of my peers praise this element, implying that it adds heaps of replay value to the package. And while I don't agree with that statement, I mean, I've replayed the game a handful of times with my only motivation being that I like how it feels to shoot demons in the face. This type of level design was a product of the technology and norms of the genre at this time. I mean, my favorite retro-ish shooter franchise, Serious Sam, is proof of this, with all the secrets hidden in each entry. So, in short, I don't like the level design, however, I can't fault the game for it. Thus, we're gonna chalk this up to different tastes in games. There is simply no way to properly convey the effect this game had on the industry as a whole. It practically created the first-person genre as we know it. And quite honestly, that's a massive achievement. Even if you don't play shooters all too often, you know damn well how appealing it is to a large majority of gamers out there. Take one look at the mountains of money a series such as Call of Duty makes, and there really isn't any other way around it. Doom helped spearhead the gaming industry as a whole, and its effects can still be felt to this very day with the series going on strong. Not to mention the simple fact that this game still holds up to this day. Like every milestone video game, it isn't perfect, but without a shadow of a doubt, I can safely say that Doom is still a classic game. One that every fan of the first-person shooter genre should give a try. Hey there guys, Justin DG here, and it's been a while. It's been quite a long time since I last made an upload here. Hopefully you've noticed an increase in the quality of my video output. I'm going to try and shift the channel in a new direction. I'm trying to aim for more, more well thought out and scripted content for my game reviews for my channel. And I want that to be the main focus of my second channel. Obviously this outro right here is a little unscripted segment, but I hope you guys get the picture, and I hope you enjoy the content I produce further. With that being said, guys, I hope you all enjoy, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.